What miracle were they looking for? They saw dangerous dimensions of God. But at the slightest opportunity, they bowed to Baal. They committed adultery with Ashtaroth. Christianity is not the story of how you started. Because in your Christian journey, you will find out that the way you started sometimes might be with a stutter, with a struggle. Everything was not perfect when you started. You still struggled with prayer some days. You still struggled with the lust of the flesh some days. The question is, how did you die? Did you grow? This was the burden in the heart of Paul in Hebrews when he said to them, by this time ye ought to be teachers. The reason he was bringing that word to them was on the basis of the resources that have been channeled your way, on the basis of the opportunities you have had. By now, you shouldn't still be struggling. By now. For some people, they started as high flyers when they began. 10 hours prayer, 8 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours. You give them mic to strike prayer, they fly. But now, no prayer altar again. And you know the funny thing about this thing? Your spiritual life can have died and your economic situation is thriving. Your bank account is being loaded. When you see your salary is like Osusu. When you look at your bank account, there was a guy that they employed one time in one of the oil and gas companies. When they told him the salary, he did not believe, so he went to the bank. He said, give me so amount. They gave him. He said, how much remain? They told him, he said, he wanted to die. He said, give me so amount. They gave him. He said, how much remain? They told him. He said, So he carried the one he had withdrew, put it on his chest, and he just laid down on his bed. He wanted to die. You can be prospering in this life. Married, your children are looking like sliced bread. And meanwhile, your spiritual life is rotting. Is comatose. Prayer altar gone. The most dangerous place to be in is that you are still alive in this world and you carry the Spirit of God in your spirit and you no longer love God the way you used to. That is a red flag. You will soon depart from the faith. Bro, lose anything you want to lose. Don't lose your love for God. I don't know how to tell you this thing. Paul said that there's a constraining factor. He says his love constrains us. Your love for God will drive you back to prayer. It will drive you back. Because every time your heart palpitates, you can even be in keke and you'll be crying. You'll be missing the one whom you love. It will drive you to prayer. Even the most useless kinds of prayer. Say, God, I can't help myself. Help me. Love will keep you at the altar. You don't know that love is a defense, is a security for consecration. Love. I don't know how to tell you. Don't lose your love for God. You want to survive the corruption that is in this world? Let the fires of your love for him be all consuming. Inside out, let it be burning. Show me a husband that truly loves God. You will see the way he treats his wife. Show me a woman that truly loves God. You will see it in the way she treats her husband. Many of us fake our love for God. Love for God is not activity in church. That you are consistent in church and you are a very good worker is not proof that you love God. Love for God is in your willingness to do all his will and to prioritize him above everything and everyone else. Love for God. Don't lose it. Some people that have come to me to ask me, sir, I listen to you and my heart is in shreds. What is your secret? I tell them most of the time, I don't know how God did it, but I love him absolutely. I love God. And I say this with the sincerity of my heart. Let nothing touch it. If not, you will depart from the faith. I'm telling you the truth. With the kind of high-sounding nonsense that is existing in the realm of Christianity now, if you don't love God, you'll be looking for escape route from the things that he has called important. Love God. Love him even at the expense of your own life. That if death were to come, death will be the only way to make you stop loving God. Love him. Love him more than money. Love him more than comfort in this life. Love him more than the response, recognition, and the accolades of men. Love him. Love him when it is good. Love him when it is bad. Love him. And when you read Hebrews chapter 3 from verse 12 to 15, you will see that it is possible to depart from the faith. Give me Hebrews chapter 3, 12 to 15. Either by whirlwind, either by spear or arrow, no guilt in life, no fear of death. I will wait on you till you come or call me home. My reward is you now and then. Either by whirlwind, either by natural disasters, no guilt in life, no fear of death. I will wait on you till you come or call me home. My reward is you now. Do you know that the meaning of that song? Our brother Theophilus Sunday is introducing us into the depth of commitment that comes from a heart that is burning with genuine love. And the first two lines of the song that says either by whirlwind or by spear or arrow is telling you that death is inevitable. Death will come. It can come by natural disasters. It can come by the attack of the enemy. He says, but as long as I'm on the earth, I will wait on you. I will wait on you because my reward, whether it is in this life or on the other side, my reward is not a car. You say, because you have been faithful, take car. My reward is not marriage. It's not a good house. It's not a fat bank account. As much as money is needed to prosecute even kingdom assignment in this life, my reward is not money. My reward is you now. So there's a way you can enjoy God now and still enjoy him there. Oh God, we will die. It's a matter of when. If Jesus tarries 60 years from now, many people in this room will no longer be here. Many of us have become pages in books of history. The question is, while you lived, what will be your reward? And when you die, will it be him? Permanent enjoyment of him, or permanent separation from him? My reward is you. This is why mortals cannot offend me. I'm not saying that I cannot be pained. I can feel pain in my heart. But you see, I will go back to the one whom I love and embrace him. My reward is him. I've done things for people that I put my neck on the line. Even me and my wife, we sacrificed. And the things the people did afterwards, I wanted to go to God and say, one of them, I was talking with my wife said, let it go. I said, don't. I had the opportunity to just give a command and he's finished. But my reward is not thank you from men. You know, I keep saying this thing. Many of you listening to me, you will not know the import of what we have been baptized into until the day I die. When my assignment on the earth is finished and I die, many of you will now realize that the voice you heard was the voice of a prophet, sent by God to raise an army that cannot be compromised by the delicacies of Satan, an army that burns with such purity, not just in life but in doctrine, an army who all they want is that Jesus will be glorified. That when they sing his songs, they don't sing it to be entertained. They don't sing these songs because they are sweet. They sing his songs because they are the Lord's songs, and he is their reward. Keep your love. Don't, you see, you may not believe the thing I'm saying. Is when Satan comes after you, and you now find that your heart can shift. You now realize that heart was not totally in love with Jesus. He says, beware, brethren, lest there be in any of you an evil heart of unbelief. Doing what? In the party. No guilt in life. Do you know the meaning of no guilt in life? It means that when I walked the earth, I was holy before God and blameless before men. There's no one iota of regret in the way I lived. So when I appear before God, no guilt in life, no regrets. I'm not going to say, had I known. Some people will get to heaven and wish that they stretch themselves for God a little more. You will not have the opportunity after you die. It's now that you have breath that you can sacrifice for him. Some will wish that they did they say, if only I did more. Because when we get to heaven, we will find out that we are not the same. All of us will get there, but you will now realize that some will be different from others. No guilt in life. Well, no fear of death, because death for us is the beginning of a sweet journey. Sweet journey. Love God. Let your heart be consumed with it. Love for him. It will guarantee your consecration. When they come and advertise immorality before you like this, advertise Satan's goods before you like this, you will call it gravel. You will see what it is, and you will speak like Joseph. How can I do this thing and sin against God, holiness, and sin against man, Blameless. He wanted to be blameless before men and holy before God. Number two, we said it is possible if you don't get to the end of becoming a martyrs, you can drift. And the metaphor Paul was using in Hebrews chapter 2 and verse 1, Hebrews chapter 2 and verse 1, was the metaphor of a boat. You know, those of you that have been to the harbor or the dock, you know that boats are anchored. Anchored. So when they are anchored, dear brother, when the waves and the tides are changing, the boat can be swinging here and there, but it is fixed. So Paul is saying that if as a disciple you have not become anchored, when tides begin to change, there are things called every wind of doctrine. You will drift. Because if the boat does not have an anchor, if that rope is not tight, sometimes because of wind, because of the careless mooring, it's called mooring. Mooring. Because of the careless mooring of the moormaster or whoever did the mooring, it was not properly moored, it was not properly anchored. The rope now loosens, the boat will now begin to drift. Many people still look like the boat where Jesus is, but they are at sea. They are drifting. Their faith has no anchor. There's no secured place they can go to. You see, brethren, it's not like we don't face challenges. It's not like this Christian life is not hard for me. It's hard though. But you see, like Elijah had a juniper tree. May I know how to go to God. I remind him of the things me and him have shared. The things he taught me over the years. The covenants I cut with him. So even if the mooring rope is loose, I will put my hand in the river and paddle the boat back to shore. There's no place else to go. When Jesus looked at the disciples and says, "Will you also leave me?" He said, "To whom?" When you still have options outside Jesus, you will soon become a drifter. You will drift. When you have options outside Jesus' instruction for marriage, Jesus' instruction for how to do business, Jesus' instruction for how to live in this life, you will soon become a drift. You will drift. And you know the painful thing about drifting? If the drifting is not arrested quickly, the boat will be lost. Many days of searching by professional shipmasters will not find the boat. And some cases, by the time they find it, it has sunk on that sea. At that point, they have tasted of the powers of the age to come. It's now difficult to restore them. At that point, they have put their hand on the plow. Have you not gone to on evangelism and you are talking to somebody and the guy is quoting scriptures? She's quoting scriptures. Then you now say, you say, I did church before. So this thing you are saying, I said it. Say, I went to evangelism here. I worked miracles like this. And the person you are talking about is chewing gum like a prostitute. She's now sleeping out. Then you are wondering, how did you move from there? It's a drift. And you know the thing about drifting, it happens slowly. A little here, a little there. Compromise on your finances. Compromise on your instructions on holiness and purity. Little compromise. One day you will wake up and you are at sea. Lost. Even the best shipmasters are no longer able to recover you. If the Mathetes does not deliberately seek to find Jesus, he can become a wanderer. Proverbs 21, I think it's verse 16. It says, if you wander out of the way of understanding. Proverbs 21, I think it's verse 16. It says, you will find yourself in the company of the dead. A man who wanders from the way of understanding will rest David said, how can a young man keep his way pure? He said, by meditating on the laws of God. The way of understanding is for disciples who, seeking to build a house, does not first sit down to count the cost, whether he is able to finish, lest when he starts, he finds out he doesn't have resources to finish. The way of understanding. I have a teaching on the way of understanding. I don't know whether it was recorded, whether our recording at that time was working. There was a teaching on the way of understanding. Where you know God, you understand his ways, and you live absolutely for him. So a man that lives on the way of understanding, when things are not going according to plan, he's not troubled. He knows that God has a plan. Even when it looks like there is no plan, divinity is planning. Divinity is working. The one whom your heart loves is pushing things in the spirit. The Bible says, for we know that all things works together for the good of them that do what? Love the Lord. If they do not wander, there is a possibility for them to know the experience of God, but to deny the power thereof. 2 Timothy chapter 3 from verse 1. 2 Timothy chapter 3 from verse 1. Help me now, my time is gone. 2 Timothy chapter 3 verse 1. But know this, that in the last days what will happen? Perilous times will come. Not maybe. Not maybe. Oh. Perilous times will come. Know it and know peace. That whether you like it or not, you can't pray it away. In the last days, perilous times will come. Let me announce to you, we are already living in those days. Next verse. For men will be what? Lovers of themselves. What else will they love? Money. What will they be? Boasters. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Lovers of themselves. You see why I told you? Love God, though. Love God even more than your life. If you love yourself more than you love God, you will depart from the faith. Verse 3. Unloving, unforgiving, slanderers. I want us to read the next one together. Without what? Preach to your neighbor. Say, without self-control. Next, brutal, despisers of good. Verse 4. Traitors, headstrong. I want us to read the next two together. Haughty. Then the last one. Rather than what? Last verse. Having what? A form of godliness, and but denying what? What did he say you should do? Do what? Turn away. Such people should not be in your intimate circles. Lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. So the truth you need to mine out of that rich resource is that you cannot love pleasure and love God at the same time. So if you are a lover of pleasure, you are not a lover of God. And if you are a lover of God, you are not a lover of pleasure. What kind of pleasure is he talking about? The kind of pleasure that satisfies flesh. The kind of pleasure that allows flesh to grow in its corruption. The kind of pleasure that feeds your carnality, feeds your lust, feeds your rebellion. You cannot love that kind of pleasure. The kind of pleasure you should love is the kind of love for pleasing God. Your pleasure every day must be to please him. Last not least, if the Matites does not live for God, live like Jesus, and shun the world, he can be one of those that will be sifted. Luke 22. Give me 32. No guilt in life, no fear of death. I will wait on you till you come or call me home. My reward is now. Media, let's go to verse 30. Let's begin at 30. So we build it. This is my last scripture. Okay, give me 28. Let's begin at 28. But you are those. Oh, I've lost time. I can't deal with this now. You are those who have continued with me in my trials. Just to give you background, because I know some people will not read this scripture when they get home. A wise student, seeing that we began here, will go home and say, how did we get here? First of all, they were arguing among themselves that who is the greatest in the kingdom? Which one of us will be the greatest? The first argument that began before they got there in Luke 22 is that they were arguing among themselves who will betray the Christ. Jesus had just told them that one of them will betray him. So they were arguing among themselves. Is it I? Is it I? Who amongst us will do this wicked thing? When they finished that argument, you will think that it was a solemn moment. But they finished that argument. On the back of that one, they began another one. Say, who amongst us, dear Jesus, who amongst us will be the greatest in your kingdom? And Jesus now had to do a small theological class. He needed to take them through a refining. It's called water treatment, treatment by the word, to purge their hearts. He had to take them through it to say, Kai, you didn't study me now. He that wants to be great amongst you needs to be the least. He that wants to be king, he that wants the place of honor, he needs to live like a servant. Just the way I came not to be ministered unto, but to minister. I came to serve. He now concluded that discourse by telling them that the Gentiles, among the Gentiles, their kings oppress them. And yet when they are oppressing them, they keep telling them that I'm doing it for your own good. But you, are you with me now? Are those who have continued with me how? In my trials. Next verse. And I bestow upon you a what? Kingdom. Just as my Father has bestowed one upon me. Yes. That you may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom and sit on thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel. We don't have time. Let me run. And the Lord said, Simon, Simon, indeed Satan has asked for you that he may what? Let me explain the analogy so that when we begin to pray, you will pray well. You see, in Bible days, wheat, grain, when they had brought it from the farm, they normally used to beat it to remove the shell so that it can be released. And this beating normally happens on the ground. So when they have beat it, they carry the grain with the shaft, with everything, and they put in a sieve. Sometimes they use what is called a winnowing fan. A winnowing fan is that you will throw the wheat and the shaft up, then you use a fan to blow it, then the wheat will go one side, the grain will remain. You keep doing that. Are you with me? Now, a sieve is that you will take the grain with the shaft inside, and then you begin to shake it. Shake it until all the chaff and everything remain. Then what you have is the pure grain. So Jesus was saying, Satan particularly came to ask for you, and he wants to treat you like they do grain. He wants to put you in a sieve. And what is he trying to sieve? What is he trying to test? Next verse, 32. But I have prayed for you that what? Your faith should not fail. And when you have returned to me, do what? Two critical things here. Jesus now told him, the matter of deceiving, the enemy is not after your bank account. The enemy is not after your certificate from the university. The reason he's attacking your academics is because he's sifting. He's looking for what? Your faith. The target is your faith. So the last thing, number 5, is that it is possible for a disciple's faith to fail. You can depart from the faith, but it's possible for you to be in the faith and your faith what? Fails. You lose trust in God. You lose absolute confidence in the Lord. The things you believe about God, you begin to disbelieve it. Begin to ask yourself, is this thing even true? All them Pastor Kes will just come and be suffering somebody. These things he's preaching, are they even true? That kind of thing came to the heart of the Bereans. You know what they did? They carried their Bible